Okay, my name is Michael Lyons. I started off the project at the beginning of the semester working with Brick Veneer, just the standard system. And then when we were allowed to switch and manipulate the systems, I was given the opportunity to use metal panels. And when I did that, I just this is what I came up with, is an undulating wall that kind of worked to serve different functions between screening public and private lighting conditions from the exterior and interior. And to kind of refine that idea for the midterm, I decided that just to get rid of the panels themselves that were solid and go to a complete mesh screen. It served as like a sunscreen over a large curtain wall system. And in doing that, I kind of kept with the undulations, but I made it more octagonal. And there was a lot going on where it wasn't serving a purpose other than just being there and looking like a lot was going on. It really was serving no use. And then taking the fact that it actually didn't do anything, it was just there from my midterm review, that was one of the things that was brought up. I took that into consideration for my final project. And in my final project, once we were introduced to the site already had kind of like this brick that was left from the previous structure that had been torn down, and it set up a good entryway into what would eventually be private entries to the apartments that would be their condos that would serve on the upper floors. So I decided to go ahead and keep that, and then that set me up with a kind of like framing system for the panels, for my mesh panels, to kind of give it more of a rule that it worked by and more guidelines to work within. So I decided that I still wanted to keep the mesh paneling to allow a certain light that always filtered through the building, but allowing sort of private and public areas within inside the building. And then when I did that, I also had this frame system that I worked, and then to set up the different bays, I just took that same frame system and divided the building down into 5 bays. And with doing that, we went to go visit the Zahner Metal Factory, and I was really intrigued by this kind of moving mesh or perforated metal panel system that we saw there, that kind of moved in front of itself to provide more of a barrier between the exterior, and then opened up so that you could see through it. And it gave me an idea that what could I do if these panels actually moved and became to serve the same function as having openings that I had here that were supposed to be sunshades where the actual openings were, but at the same time, if it didn't need to serve that purpose, it could just serve as a screen system. So in my design in those bays on the Liberty Street side, these perforated panels can fold either up or down, working on the same type of system that a nano-wall window system works on. It's just turned on its side, and then so they can be pushed up using a hydraulic system that's held within these columns. And they're supported using a modified dirt and sub-dirt system, which is shown here. So that allows for the lower floor, which would be more, while this is serving as a storage unit facility, that lower floor could use these modular storage units that people take to their homes and then bring to the site, and they can be inserted into the building through this from that main Liberty Street. And then the second floor recessed back so that I could keep in mind that these would eventually serve as apartment units and then serve as storage units. Also, that could serve as smaller storage units that somebody could actually just walk to. So in doing so, that created a setup for a nice size square footage loft that the living space of that loft would have be a higher ceiling. So, and then on the front street, which is 12th Street, the panels, because of the fact that that street has a solid line that runs down with the rest of the buildings, I didn't want to push off my building property so that I could do the same move where the panels folded up, and I really didn't want to carry over the same thing that happened. So I changed it. The panels still operate so that you can have the view, because there is a certain view that extends over the viaduct. So I had those panels where they are operate on a track system, and they just slide back, and it takes away the perforations, and you have a clear, unobstructed view over the viaduct to the city. So the idea behind my whole project was just to work on this bay system with these operable panels that serve both a function and kind of aesthetic purpose. When they're all closed, the building almost serves or appears monumental. And then when they're open, it takes on a whole different look and connection to the city. Also with the NanoWall system, it allowed me, I was trying to figure out how to work in a connection between interior and exterior without changing floor panels, because on the exterior I was going to have to deal with the water process and how water collected. So I decided that if I used almost a stone tile on the interior, I could carry that same stone with thicker dimension on the exterior, but get rid of the grout or the filler that would be on the interior, and it would create somewhere for the water to fall through. And then that water would collect in these pans, which then transferred down to the gutter system. And the gutter system carried the water into the columns, which went down to the